Wow. Good morning, everybody. Good morning, and welcome to Amsterdam. It's so great to have this room full of people here. It's so amazing that after a couple of years of building this alliance, we have this group here together. I'm looking at a room full of telcos, CPaaS players, analysts, industry experts, technologists, investors, and then some. So, welcome to Amsterdam. First, one or two logistical things. If there is a fire alarm, there's exits in the back, exits over there, and exits behind the stage to somewhere. Now, the building is a couple hundred years old, and they told me there's never been a fire. So don't worry. Also, please be advised that everything you do or say in this room may be recorded and will be used against you. There's cameras in the back. There's press walking around, eager to listen to everything we do, and all the sessions are recorded from start to finish, and they will be shared later. Which does not mean that you should go out and have phone calls and meetings in the hallway the whole day, because we have, I think, a really great 2 days prepared for you. We are here at one of the oldest parts of Amsterdam. The building is not so old, but the space where we are, the Nes, as the street is called, used to be a swamp area that was added to Amsterdam only in 1342. Because it was, I guess it was the right bank of the river Amstel. That's how Amsterdam got started. And it's interesting, when you look at that history, 1342, so I'm not so good at math, that's like 700 years. So it started, and I think it's the reddish part in this picture here. And what stands out is that you see about 5 churches that moved into the area. Something to do with the land was very cheap. There was space, so the churches moved in, and this was 13th, 14th century, and of course, the Catholic Church was ruling the world back then. So they all moved in and started the development of this whole space for a couple hundred years. And then I think this is a picture from, or a painting or a drawing from the 17th century. I couldn't find earlier photographs online. But you can imagine it went from a swamp area with nothing. I mean, all of Amsterdam is normally, we're below sea level, right? You all know that. So it turned into a busy street and space and area with shops and, I mean, around the churches, of course, you get bars and brothels and everything else that a proper city needs. We have the harbor, the big harbor right out there. So this became a very busy and active part of town. In large part due to the churches. Really interesting. And then they turned it, as the 17th century brought wealth to Amsterdam with the VOC and all of that. I mean, this became a business district. And the name of the theater, of the place it is now, is Tobacco Theater, because it used to be about 100 or 130 years. It was a tobacco auction house. And tobacco 100 years ago. Now, nobody smokes here anymore. If you do want to smoke, you have to go outside. But 100 years ago, of course, everybody smoked. It was good for your health, etc. Doctors recommended 50 years ago the brand of cigarettes to smoke to live longer. Things may change. So it became a tobacco theater, and you see all these very serious-looking people trading and making money. And then it went downhill from here. So it turned into a bit of a nasty area for a while, until the good times came back. Cafes started again, bars, the early karaoke things. It was called the Hell for a while when it was the tobacco theater, or the tobacco auction. It was called the Hell. So it's interesting that it went from church to hell. Then everything came back, and now, as you've seen when you walked up here, it's a pretty proper area. Very beautiful street. I think it lost a little bit of the old glory. It's a bit too proper, maybe. But you only have to go a couple hundred meters that way, and you're in the filthy part of Amsterdam. So, and this is what it is today: a theater for arts and business events like this and things like that. So I thought it was a really interesting bit of history. I tried to turn it into an innovation hype cycle. Right, so we went from the innovation trigger, the swamp, something that we could do something useful with, to peak of expectation when the churches moved in, and we had these 5 churches, big churches move in, the trough of disillusionment with the tobacco, and now we're slope of enlightenment and the plateau of productivity. Now, normally we look at these things and they're like 10 years. This goes 700 years. So I was thinking about it. When I found this picture, I was thinking, where are we with AI right now? Anybody want to venture or guess where we are with AI? What do you think, Andrew?
Just about, I don't know, somewhere sort of around the trough of disillusion. I'm not sure if we're going in or coming out.
Really? I think we're there. I think we're at the peak of expectation still. And I think instead of 5 churches, we now have 5 big LLM guys. We have Mark and Sam and the others. And I think it's kind of interesting to reflect on that, how, let's say, the role of the church in centuries ago has been replaced by the role of big tech today. So that's something for tonight or over lunch to sort of contemplate on. But it was interesting. I guess you can turn anything in a hype cycle if you want. But it's interesting because we're going to be talking, of course, about AI a little bit today and tomorrow. As you noticed, we're going for a bit of a speakeasy style with the venue. We're among friends here. We have a compliance statement, so we're not talking about prices and collusion and all of that stuff. But the idea is that we're here with competitors and partners and peers and friends for an open conversation for the next 2 days. And we'll have keynotes, we have panel sessions, we have fireside chats, and we have a lot of social activities as well. So let me one more thing before I go into the program. I've always been a big fan of the number 3. I think a lot of good things come in 3s. And I did a blog about it a couple of weeks ago. So this is our 3rd event, CASA25. This is our 3rd year as an alliance. It's a 3-day event. There's something about the number 3. I don't want to go back to the church part again, but there's something with 3 there as well. When you look at the evolution that we've gone through over the last couple of years, the 3 years. I'm searching Kevin in the audience. There you go. Kevin and I started this thing 3 years ago. I'd started the concept a couple of years before, just before COVID, and of course that didn't go anywhere because COVID. And then Kevin called me 3 years ago, almost to the day, probably, it was September 22. He called me and said, hey, I'm looking for something fun to do. Why don't we bring... It felt like, why don't we bring the band together? And the idea was always to bring telcos and CPaaS players together. I have a bit of a history consulting for telcos and doing startups in cloud communication space. Hey, KPN. Kevin has a bit of a history working with CPaaS enablement platforms, and we thought it would be really cool to bring telco and CPaaS together to bridge that gap. And of course, when we started, you can imagine when you start a new platform, a new community, the first 5 or 10 conversations with your new members are really tricky. Hey, Thomas, you want to join our great alliance? Yeah, sure. Who else is there? Well, you'll be number 1. How cool is that? So that was fun. First couple of months were fun. We had some early support from some of the people in the room here. Thank you very much. We got the stuff started. We brought telcos and CPaaS together. And the first objective in year 1 was basically to do that, to bring people together and to organize a first event where we looked at what is this CPaaS thing anyway? What's going on with CPaaS? Some people thought CPaaS was messaging. We thought CPaaS was so much more. It's everything programmable. It's the future of communications. So that was year 1. Year 2, we sort of doubled down on the, let's say, the inspiration point of view with use cases. So what can you do with all this CPaaS stuff? What's it about? And this year, the 3rd year, I think we're trying to really focus on impact. Create a change with this community that we now have. I mean, we're about 120, 125 members and partners today, active. I did a quick calculation. The total market cap of all of these companies is something like $500 billion. We should have made the membership fee a percentage of revenues, I still think. But we're in a position, I think, as an alliance, to do something useful with the community that we've built and the activities that we do. So that's really important, and we've tried to create 3 days this week that really goes into that. And we had an interesting discussion, a little dinner last night where we also talked about that. Right? I feel very passionate that we need to make a change as an industry, but also as an alliance. We don't just want to have an event once or twice a year and a dinner a couple times a year and have fun. We really feel very strongly that we want to make impact. So we've tried to capture that in the program for these days. And we're going to be making 3 announcements during these 3 days. I guess the first one you already saw when you came in. You should have received a bag with the State of CPaaS report. And if you didn't, then you get it soon. We have the State of CPaaS report that's actually published today, written up by Andrew Collinson. Andrew, where are you? There we go. Collecting thoughts and input from all our members, and especially our Accelerate members, and building on the first State of CPaaS report, which was led by Robert Gallup in the back 2 years ago, where we said, 2 years ago, we said, okay, 100 billion is where this industry is going. Now, Andrew started to question that. Where do you get the 100 billion from? How does it work? And we're focusing on how to get to 100 billion. So Andrew will be talking about, and everybody gets a copy of that report. And it's got some really interesting insights. The other announcement that we'll be making later today is a strategic partnership that has to do with actually investing in this space. Because we feel that when you start with the insights, where the industry is going, you also need to be able to put collectively your money where your mouth is, basically, and go and take a bit of control over this whole future. And then the third part, and that will be announced or shown tomorrow by Andrew, is the case directory. Something that started a year ago as a playbook, because we feel that it's so important to talk about business outcomes, use cases, results, the change that we can make as an industry instead of tech. Now, I know that's we had a dinner last night. It's really hard to not talk about technology with the people in this room, with the people in the telco or the communications industry. And we're going to try to do that anyway in the next couple of days. So those are 3 announcements that will go into more during the next 2 days, which I think and I hope will make a difference. Kevin, can you please join me on stage?
Would love to.
There we go.
Good morning.
Kevin, I'm going to ask you about one or two things in a second. First, we want to thank the sponsors that are making this possible, because end of the day, this shit costs a lot of money to put together, and we're having dinners and everything, so it's all taken care of by sponsors, which is great. And it's, I think, a testament to where we are as an alliance. I see some really great names on that sheet, and some very interesting names and maybe unexpected names. I'm really glad. It's really from all over the industry, so really thankful for that. We have 3 days, about 150 attendees altogether. 46 speakers. I think that's incorrect. I think we have 49. I don't know. It's hard.
We'll grab somebody and put them on stage.
Yeah, I don't know if we included us.
It'll happen.
And we'll have something new this year, which is workshops, and we talk about that in a little bit. So that's what we have planned for the next couple of days. And we start with intelligent engagement. And I mentioned it earlier. I think it's so important for us as an industry to start talking about business outcomes and results, and how can we make the world better, and how can we solve problems in healthcare. So instead of the traditional, very much telco mindset, let's build something and they will buy, whether it's APIs or a UCaaS platform or a CPaaS platform. Let's start on the other side. What are really the issues, the problems worth solving in society, in our world, that can be solved, and then also make us money? Do something useful. And I think this is a maturity that we need to get to as an industry. And I'm really glad with the first keynote that starts in about 10 minutes or 12 minutes, if I stop talking, by Neelam Sandhu from Vonage, who talks to that. So this morning is about that part. Also, we'll announce the state of CPaaS, or present the state of CPaaS report. And we will do that with a presentation and also with a panel discussion, because we figured we'd bring the analysts on stage that made all these forecasts and grill them about why they think these numbers are the numbers. So that's really cool. So that's pretty much the morning, and then we wrap it up with another keynote. So the morning will be about the state of CPaaS, the state of our industry, where we're going, why, and what should we be doing to get there. So I think that's really cool. Then after lunch, we dive into AI. With a bit of a start about the disruption of AI and if we can even survive that as an industry. Charles, I'm counting on you to make everybody cry, right, after your session. Is there hope for this industry? And then we try to paint a picture. This is really, Kevin, I would like you to explain your passion for vCons and why it's so important to what we're doing now.
Yeah. I mean, again, we're talking technology first, which I'm not sure
Yes.
we're supposed to. But it's interesting, just some quick background. I started my first voice over IP company in 1996. And it's kind of scary looking around the room. I might be the oldest guy here now. That does not make any sense to me at all. But I've never been more excited in all of the things I've done since then as I am right now. If we think about what we've accomplished in the last 2 to 3 decades, when we went from TDM to IP, the world changed. Huge companies like Nortel disappeared. Alcatel has faded into the dust. And we have all of these new technology companies that have come in that environment. We have a network now. Then we had to create applications to actually make money with it, right? So we created things like UCaaS and CCaaS, all the asses. And That's how we've been monetizing this. But the fact that we're monetizing it means that we have installed customers today, right? The reason you're able to fly here and afford to come is because you have customers that are paying you for the value that you're giving them. I feel like the last 2 decades, all the work that we've done combined in this room has brought us to this moment. With AI coming into our world, it reminds me of when I saw Netscape for the first time. The world changed. That's where we're at now. And so as we look at what we're going to discuss this afternoon, we have new standards coming in as an industry. In the same way that SIP changed the world for us, I could make an argument that it was almost $1 trillion market that SIP has enabled over these last decade or two. That's what's happening as we bring VCons in. So we look forward to talking about how AI is going to play a role, how as an industry we need to step up and standardize how we approach that. We'll be announcing a working group specifically to talk to this topic as well. So there's a lot of really cool things this afternoon that I think are vital for everyone that's in this room.
Yeah, I think I'm looking forward to that part. I've talked to a bunch of people at VCons the last couple of weeks, and it strikes me, I mean, the first reaction is typically, I've never heard of it, and the second reaction is, why don't we already have that?
Right.
So it's really cool. And then second part of the afternoon, we go into agentic AI. We're not going to try and sort of dissect Gen AI and AI agents and agentic AI and get into that sort of discussion, but more higher level. How is that stuff going to disrupt our industry? What does the communication platform of the future look like? And also, what are the problems? Where do we need guardrails? Where do we need to solve stuff? And we wrap up the day with an announcement about the investment partnership that we signed yesterday. We did. We signed something yesterday.
Yeah.
So that'll be mentioned at the end of the day, what it means and how it works. So that's the afternoon. And then after that discussion, if hopefully we build up from the dystopian future that Charles paints, we come out of that, and then there's only one thing to do, which is get drunk, right? So first we have beers and bitterballs. I mean, there's no event in Amsterdam without bitterballs, of course. Ralph, where are you? Especially for you. And then in the evening, we have a party with bites at the Chin Chin Club to stay in that sort of speakeasy style. It's a really cool place, and it'll be informal. There's enough to eat. It'll be away from here, so you need to make your way over there by Uber or public transportation, or I guess about half an hour walk, but you probably get lost. The weather is pretty good these days, so I'm happy to report that. It's going to be dry or mostly dry, a little bit of sun, a little bit chilly, so we're lucky with that because sometimes Amsterdam in September can get very wet. So that's the evening. And then tomorrow, we start again at 10 a.m. with Fight Club.
Does everybody know the Fight Club rule? Do you remember year one that we talked about the Fight Club? Who was here in our first year? I'm just curious. Welcome. You must be doing something right. They keep coming back.
Yeah, it's amazing.
That's a good sign. That's a good sign. So we have believed from day one that we talk too much about technology. Rob just mentioned that a minute ago. So the idea is to really talk about the use cases and the customers. We don't want to talk about, as soon as you open in a sales call that I'm selling CPaaS, it doesn't work, right? So we want to spend tomorrow morning really focused in on what are the use cases, what's the monetization around those, what are customers really looking for? And we've got our report that we'll be sharing some of those details as well and highlighting that. So Fight Club is, we can't mention CPaaS tomorrow. We may have a bucket up here that you got to put €1 in every time you do. So anyway, look forward to that tomorrow.
And then also after, let's say, we'll have some sessions about customers and customer cases and use cases. And then after that, Andrew leads a panel with some people to talk about the case directory that we're building or have built and that we're expanding and how that works and why it's so important. So really focus in the morning on the use cases of CPaaS. We start the morning, by the way, with a keynote presentation from Gamma. And for Gamma, CPaaS is the use case. So they get an exception to the rule. They get to talk a little bit about their perspective because their use case is the CPaaS industry. So then in the afternoon tomorrow, let's see what else do we have. We go to open telcos, network APIs. Does anybody not know what network APIs are? Great. You see? 2 years ago.
We're making progress.
Yeah. So we talk about network APIs, we have some keynotes, we have an analyst panel, we talk about the telco disruption, we have a presentation from Sebastian from Deutsche Telekom about the CPaaS that they're building, and then we end the afternoon with the Showcase Challenge, which is really your thing, Kevin.
Yeah, we end with some reality and some fun. This is where American Idol meets CPaaS. So we'll involve everyone in the audience. You get to vote for your winners, and we'll have a good time. That'll kick us off for some more drinks, I think, probably tomorrow night.
Yeah, some more drinks after the showcase, after the Showcase Challenge. But I also want to mention that during this afternoon and tomorrow morning and afternoon, we run a couple of workshops. This is new. So these are downstairs in a smaller room, about 15 to 20 people max. We have 5 workshops. You've all received an email just before the weekend with the roster or the list of workshops. But we're also going to go old school. So there'll be flip overs downstairs where you can put your name on the list for the workshops that you want to attend. Now, the workshops are organized and given by our gold and silver sponsors, so they have the privilege to strike people from the list if they don't want their competitors there, or if they just don't like you for whatever reason. I don't think they'll allow me in any of the workshops. So, small room, but the idea is to have a more interactive session on some of these topics. So there's one on vCons, there's one on network APIs, there's one on the Crescendo platform, or NetSapiens platform. There's one from Redisys about their platform. So now I should be able to list the 5th one. Who did I forget? There's a 5th one.
vCon Founders.
I mentioned the vCons. No, the vCons there. So if you're interested, go downstairs. It's right next to the wardrobe thing. And put your name on the list if you want to be in that, and then be there on time to be let into the room. So those are the workshops. Then on day 3, because I said it's a 3-day event, the first 2 days are for everybody here. And then day 3, we always do something special. The last couple of years, we had a member-only day. This time, we decided to change the tune, so the whole event is member-only. There's a few exceptions, member invite only. Day 3 is really only with the GSMA. Analyst Summit, Open Gateway, special invitation. If you're on the list, then you know. If you're not on the list, but you want to be on the list, come and see me today, because we do have some more space. It's a different venue. So don't think, oh, I'll just show up on Wednesday morning at 10 a.m. here. Well, you can, but we're not here. There's another thing going on. I have no idea what. So if you want to join on Wednesday, come and see me. I'll put you on the list, and there'll be a separate invitation mail, confirmation mail later today with the location and all the details for that. So that's really for analysts and network APIs. That's it. That's what we have in store. And now I think Kevin and I have worked enough for these 2 days. So I'm looking for Nikolai. We have arranged a master of ceremony for these 2 days. Nikolai Shetkin from MMV Ventures, who is, as we speak, in a plane or a train or a taxi making his way over. So I hope he'll get here soon enough. And then we could do a proper introduction of Nikolai.